Hello everyone, this is Pedro Baez from Go Full Glory Stable, and this is a June 22nd, 2025 baby horse update. So we're gonna just focus on just the babies in this video, and here we go. So we're gonna start with Adios My Lindy. So she's been doing great. She trained in 207 at Vernon Down. Well, let me phrase it. She went to Vernon Downs, and she was actually following. He was training in a training mile with Geologic, and so short of it is Adios My Lindy. She actually ended up she broke twice, so she broke around the first turn, then she broke again around the second turn, and talking to Paul, he said it's just baby stuff. It's just typical baby stuff. So we see that all the time. What happened with her was Geologic. So Paul was driving Adios My Lindy in the training mile, and by the way, Paul, just so you all know, Paul goes. He's been when he was based in Saratoga in the past for like 30 years. He used to always go to Vernon Downs. It's just easier. You know, Saratoga has four turns. Very hard track, and for the babies, it's just a lot easier when you're starting to ask them to go quicker. It's just easier to go to Vernon Downs because you only have two turns. It's kind of like a mile. It's 7/8, so it's almost a mile, and track it's a little bit softer, and Paul's been doing that for over 30 years, so um, uh, he does it all the time. So he'll be back next week actually again. But so yeah, Adios My Lindy. She was with Geologic. Paul was driving Adios My Lindy. Jerry Madison was driving Geologic. He's been helping. He's been doing business with Paul for 30, 40 years. But what happened was Paul was in Adios My Lindy. Jerry on Geologic. Jerry uh, kind of like blasted off in front. It's just what he did. And then what happened was he got too far in front. So instead of just kind of coasting to the front and then letting Adios get right behind on the head, on the helmet, he got way in front, like 4 or 5 lengths, 3, 4, 5 lengths in front. And so what happened was Adios My Lindy was then trying to catch up to him. But whilst she was trying to catch up to him, she was getting dirt and mud just flying up right into her eyeballs, right into her face. And it's common. You see that, that happens all the time in horse racing. But the thing is, she's a baby and she's never had to deal with that before, because usually she's on a helmet or in the front. And when you're on a helmet, all that mud just goes right to your like to her chest right here, um, or her legs. Like you'll see horses all the time; they'll have like all this mud stuff all over here. When you're really far back, it's giving the mud time to kind of travel up to the head. So she was so far back that the mud was going up to her head and hitting her in her face, and she was just it, Paul said it actually happens with fillies a lot where it just she wasn't having it, she was not liking it. It was the first experience for her for having that, and she just every time it hit her in the face, she just kind of threw her off, and then she made a break. So um, it's normal. It's this whole experience of going to Vernon, getting on a trailer, driving to Vernon, shipping the 2 hours, whatever it is, unloading from the trailer, training, getting back in the trailer, going back. That's all by design by Paul to give them the experience. And because you don't want them to experience that for the first time on a real race. You want to kind of get them used to that whole traveling. Uh, so she broke, like I said, she broke, but she's been really training well, like really well, like all year, all summer. I mean, I'm sorry, all winter, and um, she's nice. So she's doing great. Her main target, just like Geologic and um, the other Massachusetts bred horses, are Massachusetts Sire Stakes in September and October. And yeah, she's doing great. So that was just a learning experience for her on Thursday. We'll see how it goes again. She's going back again on Thursday this week. Same thing. And this will be the last tune-up. So adios, my Lindy and Geologic. Assuming everything goes well on Thursday, and Paul's going to push him a little more. Probably like my guess is 205, 204, around there, like really close to qualifying speed. Um, she's if that's going to be the plan to get him around there, and then if all goes well, you know, this is how it goes. Paul said It's kind of like a subtle thing where he's just like, yeah, if all goes well on Thursday, then next week we'll probably qualify. Baby race. He calls it baby race. So let's keep our fingers crossed that everything goes well on Thursday, and then we might it might be time for Adios and Geologic, the baby race next week. So it's actually pretty big news. But she's doing great. That's her story, and she's been trotting all. She never breaks, so this is like an unusual thing. Um, and yeah, she's healthy, sound, doing great. Looking forward to her. All right, so next baby we're going to talk about is uh, Tarango. This is going to be quick. So Tarango is just we moved on from her. She's actually not on the website anymore, and she just wasn't moving forward. Paul tried everything he can to go. The upside's not there. She's only $12,000 yearling. Her family is okay. It's not stellar or anything like that, and she's really small. So it's just she had a lot of things going against her, and on top of that, she had these physical issues where she wasn't pushing off her left hind. He tried just certain treatment. He gave her time, like to jog back, like 3 4 weeks, just pure jogging back, and Geologic had the same thing, and he came back like a week or two later, and he was way better than before. She It was the same problem like over and over again. So this is how it is with the yearlings. Not all will make it. Yeah, me personally, I always have like a 60%. I'm like very conservative, so I always hope that 60% make it to the races as a 2 year old. So um, in this case, in this year she was the one that's not going to make it. So she was sold for $4,250. And the good thing is we sold her now in mid June, and we didn't wait any longer. So just move on. She'll begin her career as a broodmare in the spring, and that's kind of it with Durango. So Geologic. Let's move on to Geologic here. He he's doing really well. So Geologic, we talked about it before, quickly before when we were talking about Adios, where so he trained actually uh, at Meadowlands first in a slower mile in a jog cart in about 2:15, um, about a couple days before we went to Vernon. Same thing. Paul just wanted to give him some experience going to the Meadowlands, seeing the paddock, traveling, shipping, traveling back to Saratoga, all this. He went with, he actually trained on the same day that Moneyman raced at Meadowlands. So that was actually the 13th, I believe. I have to pull it up. That Friday, he was in the Constellation. Um, and he he did really well. So he went to Vernon down from Thursday, and he trained with Adios. Like I said, he flew right off in front of her, and then he was kicking up mud into her face, and she ended up breaking, but he didn't break at all. So he just kept going. He was basically training by himself because Adios was like 10, 15 likes, like 10 likes behind him, and Jerry Madison said he did it really easy. He's been driving him a lot this whole kind of off season or training time for Geologic, and Jerry's like really impressed with him. He's been he just kind of like what's the phrase? He's been doing it easy. Everything's been easy. You ask him to go fast, he goes fast. Yes, he keeps trotting. You ask him to go around the small Saratoga turns, he goes around the turns. You ask him to accelerate, he'll accelerate. It's like you know he's been doing everything easy, and we're very curious to see how he goes. It's funny, Paul. It's he was gelded because he was a ridgeling. And his family wasn't that great, but I mean, it's funny. Like it's just how it goes. Where he was gelded early on because he was a ridgeling, and his pedigree wasn't really that strong. But here we are in June. He's not saying he's going to be a stallion or anything, but he's doing really well. He's doing really well. Uh, he's definitely. towards the top of the class right now, probably the top of the class, and just by how he handles things, his physique, maturity, physical, mental maturity, just he's really doing it. He's really progressed pretty nicely all winter and spring. So that's the next thing. So we'll see how he does on Thursday this week, the 26th. Him, Adios, and Complimentary is another Paul horse is going up there, and they'll train on Thursday, 26th. And if all goes well, hopefully we'll see him qualify at Vernon Downs. He will qualify at all of them will qualify at Vernon Downs also. So I asked Paul where he's going to do it, like Saratoga or Meadowlands or whatnot. He says he's been doing it for 30 years and he always qualifies at Vernon Downs. So if anyone's in the area, you can go to Vernon to see him baby race. But that's going to be keep our fingers crossed. And the only way that Paul won't go on Thursday is if just like rain or something. So let's just hope the weather's good and there's no rain or anything. And then, he'll train on Thursday and then, hopefully next week we see our first baby race. So uh, that's the story with Geologic. He's doing fine. All right. So the next baby we have is Steel of the Century, formerly Irish Egyptian. He's with Paul Reed, and he was he was only $4,000, and so he was very I guess you can call it like he was cheap. But some people a cheap yearling, but doesn't they don't know how much they cost. I think he's watching. I want to say he's watching was like a 10,000 yearling or something like that, or 5,000 yearling. Someone's gonna correct me, but these horses they don't know how much they cost. So it just all what only matters is what they do on the track. So he had a he had a cut on his leg in the paddock. His Paul Reed knows how he got it. He got his foot tangled in the fence, and as a down in Florida in the spring, and he had a pretty good cut down his leg, and he required like a bunch of stitches. I think it was like 10 stitches, something like that. It was a pretty good amount. And but thankfully there was no like ligament or anything, no tendon was impacted. It was all superficial, as the vet says, and that put him back about a month. Uh, that put him back about a month um, in training because he had to get the stitches in there. Then you have to kind of wait for the stitches to come out. Then you couldn't go fast again right away. You had to kind of slowly gear him up to go quickly again. Um, but he did all that. He came back from that fine, and he's another one where we're gonna hope to keep our fingers crossed that everything goes well this week. And then same thing like I just said with Adios and Geologic. If everything goes well this week, he's got a legitimate chance to qualify in Ontario, in Canada, um, next week at some point or the week after. So he's a pacer, so he's a little different than the trotters we've been talking about, which you don't really have to deal with the braking and stuff like that. But uh, I'm very curious to see how he does. He's a Century Pharaoh. That's how I had his pedigree up before, and which is I think this might be his first or second season. I'm not sure exactly. I don't follow Ontario too much, but I know Century Pharaoh was a great racehorse, and if you look at his family, the mother has only had four foals, and three of them uh, made the races. Two of them, one made over 180,000. And the other two are doing okay. So, or this Acrobata did okay. Now she's breeding, and I mean, even her child went at 51. So, um, her foal went at 51. So, you know, it's a sneaky decent family. Even if you go to second dam, the family's sneaky decent. So, I mean, there's no reason why Steel of Century can't be a nice racehorse. So we'll see how it goes. Looking forward to it. Just at this point, you got to keep your fingers crossed and just pray that you don't get any calls from the trainers, mentioning anything. So at this point, we're just keeping our heads down and hoping for the best. But he seems like he's pretty close. He's been doing it pretty well all off season. He's been doing really well. Um, and last but not least, the second chapter. Second chapter. So he so his so he trained on Thursday in Vernon Downs. He went in 207, and he did it really well. So Paul was a little hesitant on training him because even before Thursday, Paul had an idea that he was thinking about gelding him. I'll get into that in a second. But then Paul said, "Hey, what the heck? I'll just I'll just train him anyway. With the other horses." And he trained really well. He trained really well. He went in 207, and but it was more like holding him back, shall we say? Meaning, um, even after like once he got through the finish line, he was still wanting to go. He was still he was still like really wanting to keep going more. So Paul was like, all right, he's actually he's actually got some serious power to him. Um, but uh, but yeah, he did it really well. He trotted the whole mile. Like I said, he finished strong. He wanted to keep going, so he's turned out a pretty nice horse. That curb that he had on his leg, I forgot which. I'm not sure if it's the front leg or back leg, but that's all good now. That's past him, taken care of. Just take care of it right now. Don't have to deal with it during the race season. So he's good to go with that. So his thing is on Wednesday, 25th. He's scheduled to get gelded or castrated. And so his story is he actually has a pretty nice family. He was an $85,000 purchase, so he's not cheap. He's chapter seven, which, as you all know, is probably the number one trotting sire in the game right now. And his full sister is my debt collector, and I mean, she already made 387,000. I mean, and she's basically winning every single New York Sire Stakes race she's in. It's remarkable. So that's why when we got him for 85, we were all shocked because kind of like, how did that happen? But yeah, I mean, um, he's got a full sister who's really nice, who's a killer, and uh, Paul and the whole family is not bad. And Paul was, you know, he was leaving the door open for him to be a trot, potentially be a stallion if we really got lucky. Um, uh, was a really premier racehorse. Um, but he what happened was he was jogging, he was training, and he's doing fine. It's just it's one of those things that only the trainers can really see when they're training, and it, he just Paul just felt like he just wasn't quite. He felt like he was favoring his right hind just a little bit, and basically, uh, Paul reached out to the vet. The vet looked him over. Um, and vet didn't see anything wrong. His ankles are good, back's good, stifle, hock, everything's good. Ankles, feet, uh, everything, shoulders. It's all everything checked out. It wasn't an area that we're like, oh, you got to fix this, you fix that. He was fine. And so the only thing that the vet noticed or recommended was the fact that he was a ridgeling. Basically saying that because he's a ridgeling and he has that, what that means is you have one testicle is in your scrotum or the sac. The other testicle is kind of like in your abdomen. Like I said on the other video, that's common. I mean, American Pharaoh, who won Triple Crown, had that is a ridgeling. He raced obviously great like that. Cam Fella is an older standardbred, famous sire and stake and racehorse. He was a ridgeling. So I mean, a lot of horses. You have seen some ridgelings who have gone all the way to the top, but it's like a very small, tiny percentage of them who've done that. So usually owners and trainers will geld the horse if they're a ridgeling, just because if they're a ridgeling, every now and then, or not every now and then, it's possible that um, because the testicle is in the abdomen, that it can cause them discomfort while while they're trotting and things like that, or pacing the pacers. So the vet recommended that he get gelded, uh, just so that we know 100% that he's nothing's bothering him and that we can get the most out of him. So, um, like I said, Paul was trying to he was trying to wait. He was trying to wait it out because he was doing okay. He was doing fine all training, and just to leave open the door of potentially, what if he could be a stallion or something. But he felt that at this point, it's just we right now we got to make sure that he's 100% can be the best racehorse that we need him to be. Uh, so Paul decided in the with the vet to geld him on Wednesday the 25th. He's only going to be out of commission, or when it's out of commission, out of training for about 10 days or so, and then he'll be back to training, and then assuming all goes well, he still has a chance to qualify at some point in July. Um, so he's doing fine. That's the only news with him is that he's going to get gelded on Wednesday, and that's the story behind it. Uh, it's better to do it now versus wait for the season to start, and then he's racing, and then you're like, oh, he could have been better. Something's bothering him. Then you got to get gelded. Then you got to miss some races. It's or it could be some big races that we're missing because depending on when it might occur. So just gonna do it now. We got a long season. Still got a lot of 2-year-old season left, and then we got obviously a whole 3-year-old season. So we just gotta get that taken care of now, and you know, he'll be fine. Uh, so anyway, that is I think I covered all the yearlings. So that is, or the not yearlings, the babies. So that are all the babies, and that's all she wrote. So if you have any questions, reach out to Charlie or myself, and good luck. Thank you.